If you're working hard behind the chair as a hairstylist, you're doing good hair, but you're still feeling underpaid, overwhelmed, and wondering why the clients you want never seem to find you. If that's you, this episode is definitely for you. There was a time in my career when I realized talent wasn't my problem. The way I was doing business was. Do you want a full chair with a steady flow of clients and more confidence behind the chair, but you struggle with slow books, inconsistent income, and feeling stuck or discouraged? If so, my friend, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Sherry Brody, hairstylist, educator, and mentor behind the chair. After rebuilding my business multiple times, I've learned how to own my chair like a business, creating clarity, confidence, and consistency without the feeling of burnout. So grab your shears, step behind the chair with me, and let's build that business you've been dreaming of. It was about 33 years ago. I was standing there holding my two young children's hands. Well, actually, I was holding my older son and holding my younger son. He was still a baby. And I was staring at the most god-awful apartments. I had gone all over town looking for a place to live for me and my boys. I had been married for I'm not quite sure how long, but I had hit a point where I knew no matter how much I loved him, that I didn't want to raise my boys in the atmosphere that we were in. We were not good together. And I knew it. And I needed to make the break. And I had looked all over the town. I went to every apartment and I kept getting turned down over and over again because I didn't have any creditworthiness. You see, everything was in his name. So nobody would rent to me. I had trusted everything in his name. So I had finally come to this apartment. I remember looking at it. It was brown. They were 2-story. It was kind of tucked away in a neighborhood, but it was kind of run down. You could tell. And I was standing in front of the one apartment that was still available. I had gone into the office, and by this point, I was desperate. I went in. I remember seeing this lady sitting there just smoking a cigarette. Let's just say she didn't look like she was, well, let's just leave it there. But I just told her my plight. I just blurted it out. And I said, I need a place to live for myself and my boys. And she told me there was one apartment that was coming available, but it had a leak. So they had fans in it that, it should be ready in about a week or so. But if I wanted to look at it, she would be open to renting to me. So there I was. She took me into this apartment. I remember her opening the door and the carpets were all up. Fans were going everywhere. But when I looked at it, I thought, okay. She told me what the price was. I thought I can do this. It needed a lot of work, let me tell you. But that day I signed a lease. And there I was standing there with my boys. And something changed inside of me. You see, at that point, I had been doing hair, I want to say probably about 9 or 10 years. And I did okay here. I was doing fine. I was working in a nice hair salon, but I wasn't really doing very high numbers. I was just kind of getting by. As I was standing there staring at this apartment, something shifted in me and I just knew, okay wasn't good enough anymore. Just getting by wasn't good enough anymore. Because what was more important to me was providing a future and a home for my kids. And my number one goal was, first of all, of course, to make this apartment our home. But my goal was not to be there very long. And the only way I could do that, I knew in my heart of hearts, was I had to be able to do work that justified charging more and attracting those higher paying clients. And I knew deep in my heart that the work I was doing, it was okay, it was good, but it wasn't at the level where I would be attracting those higher paying clients. You know what I mean? We get comfortable in our work, we get comfortable in our life, and we just kind of coast. Well, I was in a place that I had something more important to me than anything, and that was my boys. I wanted to give them a future. I wanted to be able to support them. I wanted to keep a roof over their head. I wanted a future. So I knew right then and there, that was a turning point. I was going to make a change. No matter what it took, I was going to get us out of this apartment, and I was going to build them a good life. And in today's episode, I want to share with you, the three things that I did that changed everything for me. Everything. And I'm not going to tell you that any of this was easy. All three of these things that I'm going to share with you, they were hard. They were hard physically. They were hard emotionally. It challenged me in every way possible. But every day, all I cared about and kept my focus on was my boys. That was what was the turning point for me. So in this episode, I'm just going to take you through that journey a little bit. I don't know where you're at in your life. Maybe you're someplace and you can relate to my story. And if it is, I see you. So the first thing that I did was I knew I needed to invest in education. I never really did this. I always had an excuse. Well, we don't have the money. I can't do that. I need to spend it on this instead. Well, this wasn't an option for me. I knew how to cut hair. I knew how to work with clients, but I wasn't 100% confident. I still steered away from certain haircuts, or I wouldn't take certain clients because I wasn't confident in them. And most importantly, the clients that I needed in my chair for me to attain the goal of getting my children out of that god-awful apartment and into a neighborhood and a home that I could raise them and be proud of and give them a good life. I needed to attract those high-end clients, and my work, I knew it wasn't good enough. So I scraped up every penny I could. Of course, I charged a little bit, and I went to an academy. Now remember, guys, I'd been doing hair close to 10 years at this point. So going to an academy was really tough. This academy, you may not be familiar with it, or you might, depending on where you're at in the world, but it was called Graham Webb Academy. It changed my life. I struggled with haircutting a lot. It's weird to say that. Some of you know me as a haircutting educator. I've been teaching haircuts for many, many years. But I struggled. I just didn't grasp it. I was just kind of figuring out each haircut at a time. I had certain haircuts I was pretty good at. But did I really understand how to create every haircut? I knew I lacked and I needed artistic disciplines. And what that was I needed to be able to understand what I was doing, so that I wanted to be able to, whatever client sat in my chair, I could create it, and I could be able to communicate very well and understand what they wanted. I wanted confidence. I wanted confidence in my abilities, and I wanted my clients to have confidence in mine. Now, in the salon that I worked at, there was a gal there that I admired. She did beautiful work. There's actually a couple of gals in there. I was so blessed to work in this salon, let me tell you. But I watched her, and I wanted the client she had in her chair. There was one in particular. Her name was Jan. It's not her real name, but I'm going to call her Jan. She was my ideal client. That was the first time I didn't have a name, to call it ideal client. Like when I'm teaching hairstylists now on how to build their business, I teach them to start thinking about who their ideal client is. Well, Jan was mine. And I didn't really know it as that, but I knew that's the type of client I wanted in my chair. So I went to this academy. And I had to leave my kids for close to a week to go. And then I came back and I did the second thing that changed everything. And that was I practiced it. I practiced those techniques every chance I got. When my kids went to bed, I had a mannequin head out. No matter how tired I was, I practiced it. And then one of the instructors there, she was so amazing. And she shared something that I hadn't thought of when I was in there. She says, I don't want you to go back home and just practice this. I want you to just teach somebody these techniques. Because when you teach somebody something, you're going to retain it more. So that's what I did. I'd have the mannequin in front of the mirror and I would talk it out loud and walk it through. But then I took some of my friends and the other stylists that were in there and I would share with them. And also while I was in the salon, I watched those gals that did those clients that I wanted. I watched them and I paid attention. I paid attention to how they talked to them. I paid attention to their work. And I learned so much. And the third thing that I did was I worked hours that other hairstylists didn't. That meant I worked Sundays, Saturdays, evenings. It was so hard. I get emotional thinking about it because I didn't have any family nearby. I didn't have help. Stylists I had the blessing of working with, they were like my family and they would help me when they could. But I had to forget childcare. And guys, it was the hardest thing to trust my beloveds with somebody I didn't know. But God always came through. He always found somebody that would take care of them for me. And it was so hard because I missed out on things. I missed some of their nights when I could read them or pray with them at night before they went to bed. But it didn't last forever. You see, one day I went to work and I looked at my books and I about fell over. Jan was on my books. My books. So of course, I went to the front desk and I said, I think you made a mistake. She says, what do you mean? I said, Jan is not my client and she's on my books. And the receptionist at the time said, no, she requested you. I was like, oh, what? And immediately, I got really nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then I pulled myself together and I said, no, you could do this. So I remember when Jan sat in my chair, I just asked her, I said, well, I'm so happy to see you. I always admire your haircut. And she says, well, I've been watching you. I see how much you practice and I see how your work. And I wanted to give you a shot. I haven't been really happy lately. And I wanted to sit in your chair because and she showed me a picture. At that time, it was always magazines of what she wanted. And we talked it through. And the thing that I noticed after I finished Jan, it wasn't like until after when I reflected on it, but I wasn't up in my head when I was cutting her hair. Like when I was doing my consultation with her and when I was starting that haircut, because I had practiced it and I had really absorbed what I learned and I had strong core artistic disciplines in my work, both in my communication and in my work. I wasn't up in my head. I was creating, and I wasn't just creating the haircut she showed. I was being creative. It was really great at the end, you guys. She rebooked with me and she became my client. And she started sending me people. And from there, things just snowballed. I was able to raise my prices. And I raised them with confidence because I knew my work was worth it. And I was attracting my ideal client. Now, I know some of you hairstylists might be thinking, wow, was the other hairstylist mad? No, she wasn't mad. I think it was an eye-opener for her and she might have changed things up, but no, she wasn't mad because we were a team working there. But my point to this story and the reason I share it with you is because I don't know where you're at. Maybe you are a hairstylist that is doubting your abilities. Maybe you're a hairstylist that really you need to raise your prices, but the reason you're not deep down inside maybe isn't because you're afraid you're going to lose your clients. Maybe it's because deep down, you don't feel confident. You don't feel like your work is worthy. And if that's you, then I'm going to recommend you invest in your education and not just YouTube or online. Get someone to coach you. Go do a class. In fact, you guys, it wasn't that long ago I went to Sassoon. I invested in that. And it just helps keep you on point with all your work, which is why I have my business On Point Hair by Sherry, because you just got to have everything on point so that you have a successful business that lasts you the life of your career and you don't get burnout. And right now, I just want to pause right now, because if you're a hairstylist that kind of doesn't know what to do or where to look, I just want to encourage you guys to visit my website, On Point Hair by Sherry, SHERRI.com. You can also find the links in the show notes. But guys, I created a course a long time ago. It's called Cutting with Confidence, and it is packed full. It's got 8 modules of hair cutting, all the way from one length to layers, graduation, easy ways to learn it so that you retain it. But then, and also at the end, we do a full on short graduated haircut, bob haircut with lots of texture and movement in it. But I also added another one on there for consultation, because I feel like a lot of times that's kind of where we miss it with our clients. If we don't do a really good consultation and really understand what they want, sometimes we can miss the mark and not get the haircut right because we didn't communicate properly. So I did add that in as well. But I also offer coaching, guys. One-on-one coaching it's a game changer, because I can really, from all the years and all the experience I've had, I can literally listen to your story of where you're at, and I can help you get your career off in the direction you need to go, so you're not wasting your time on other things, so that you can start building the business and the career that you're dreaming of. And maybe you're like me. Maybe you're living in a place that you want to move up. You want to move out. You have dreams of living in a nicer environment. And it's not going to happen by just doing the same thing every day and not getting out and changing and learning new things. So I could keep going on with this, but I'm not going to. I want to ask you something. I want you to ask yourself, what is it I'm dreaming of? And taking it further, am I doing the things in my business and in my life to get me there? Or am I just getting by? If you're just getting by, I'm going to encourage you to do these 3 things. Invest in yourself. Invest in your education. You will never regret it, because, guys, no one can take your knowledge away from you. Nobody. Second, when you learn something new, you practice it. You practice it. Even when you learn something new, it's so exciting. And then you practice it and it's like, this sucks. It's so hard. And you want to quit. And that's where a lot of people quit. Don't quit. Push through it. Practice it until you don't even have to think about it. It becomes part of who you are. And then at that point, teach somebody it so it sticks. And then it's time for you to learn something new, because this is how we continue to stay motivated and grow in our life and in our career. And the last one, you work the hours. When you're building your business, you don't get the luxury. If you really want to build a good business, a good solid foundation business, and you want to build it quickly, then guys, you got to work the days that most people aren't. Most stylists that have been doing it and already have established clientele, you have to work those Saturdays. They have to work those Sundays. And now Mondays are a big deal. Evenings. You got to make sacrifices. Every hairstylist that is working the hours that you want, they had to sacrifice. And so will you. If you want those dreams, you just have to decide how bad you want it. And if you want it, then you're going to make the sacrifice. And it's my hope, guys. It is my hope that you get your Jan in your chair. That you do these 3 things. You put them to work in your life and in your career behind the chair. And you get to see and feel having that Jan, your ideal client, sitting in your chair, referring your clients, rebooking you because she doesn't want to miss an opportunity to sit in your chair. And I'm here to tell you, this is not something that someone told me. This is lived. This is experience. This is why I have this podcast. And I hope this episode lights something up in you. Thank you so much for listening. It is my prayer. It is my deepest prayer that my stories really help you in your career behind the chair. And if they do, let me know. You can send me a message at On Point Hair by Sherry on social media. Leave me a review and let me know what about this episode stuck with you the most. I would love to hear from you. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If it helped you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe and leave a quick review and share what stood out most for you today. When you leave a review, it helps other stylists find this show. And hey, if you want to hang out with me more and learn alongside other like-minded stylists who are working on building their clientele as well, I have a free Facebook group I just started. You'll find the link in the show notes below. I'd love to have you there and hang out with you. I'll be back next week. Until then, happy haircutting, and remember, your chair is your business, so own it like a pro.